You learn how to sell, you can do pretty much anything.
One of your client is not happy with you. So in that case, how do you kind of make them happy if they're not already happy with you?
Oh, get out then. You're out. No, no, get out. You're out of here.
Live like a CEO.
All right, welcome back to our another episode of our new podcast called Live Like a CEO. You already know that in this podcast we invite CEOs and entrepreneurs, C-suite executives to talk about their business life, personal life, and how what it looked like to be an entrepreneur kind of things. So today, without further delay, I would like to invite our special guest. He is a CPA. His name is Manny Cosme. He is the president and CEO of CFO Service Group. Thank you for joining today. My first question to you, please tell us about you, like what kind of service you provide, what kind of clients or customer you're looking for, who would be your ideal client?
Yeah, so I run CFO Services Group. We are a management accounting firm headquartered in Washington, D.C., although we have clients all over the U.S. So we work primarily with small businesses and small nonprofit organizations that are looking to grow, and just providing them with the information they need, right, with good bookkeeping services, good information that they can pull from their financial statements, also helping them do their back end work like paying their bills, doing their invoicing, doing their payroll, kind of the back end office accounting work, and then providing them with financial strategy. So kind of thinking about where you're at today, where you want to be tomorrow, and how are you going to grow from A to B, basically. What funding do you need? What's your strategy for hiring? Kind of things like that.
Perfect. So, Manny, your information, your website, your email address, phone number, everything would be on the screen. So, dear audience, if you're a small business owner, if you need help with financial services, CPA services, please reach out to Manny directly. He's a great person. He will be able to meet all of your needs. So, Manny, now we are going to talk about the main topic of our podcast, which is live like a CEO. So, not a lot of people they are entrepreneur. They don't do work on their own. Only a small percentage of people in America and also all over the world. So, what made you entrepreneur? Like why only a small percentage of people are entrepreneur, and what especially made you entrepreneur?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I grew up in a bit of an entrepreneurial household. My grandfather had his own painting business a long time ago, and my dad also had his own business, actually doing bookkeeping and tax work. So that's where I guess I grew up in that environment of being around entrepreneurs. So as a result, growing up, my family had other entrepreneurial friends. So it was just kind of embedded in the culture, and so I kind of got the bug, if you will. Interestingly, my brother and sister didn't really, but I did. So as I entered my career, I went to work for a few organizations, but ultimately just really felt this drive, this pull to want to start my own business. So I did. Here I am.
Awesome. So when you were younger, like for example, in your high school or college, did you always think that you'll be an entrepreneur, or you had no idea?
I didn't have an idea, but I kind of did. Like I guess I was the typical person who kind of always had a side hustle going, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would always be doing something on the side to generate money and do a little business thing. So I suppose I always had that business like drive in me, whether it was going to be on my own or like in a corporate setting, driving another business to success. But did I know 100% I was going to be in my own business? No, definitely not. But that definitely became evident as I grew in my career.
Mm-hmm. So you're an entrepreneur and your siblings are not. So based on your family and also your parents are entrepreneurs. So based on this family history and everything, what do you recommend? Like what kind of people should go for entrepreneurship and what kind of people should go for like a job?
Oh, that's a great question. I think it just comes down to personal preference because, there are pros and cons to both, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's great to run your own business and there's a lot of benefits, but there's also a lot of cons. For example, running my own business, it's not like I had a support network, a manager, that I can lean on. or an administrative team that I can reach out to help do things, right? I had to do everything on my own. Versus working in a business, working for someone in a more corporate setting, you have a lot of resources at the ready. So I think really ultimately it just drives down to your personal preference and how you really just want to grow in your life and your career. I don't think there's really a set formula. I can tell you that I've often thought, running a business is not the easiest thing. And I've often, when the going gets tough, I've often thought to myself, oh, I should have just stuck in corporate accounting. I should have just stuck in a firm, or stuck in a Fortune 500 and been an accountant. And then I say that, and then I remind myself that if I had done that, honestly, I would not have been happy, because having a business provides me with so many other benefits that I wouldn't have in my life otherwise. So
yeah, there's always like
grass
good
is always
things.
greener,
Yeah, exactly. So, a lot of entrepreneurs, they want their kids to start business, and some of them they even recommend their middle school kids to start their own LLC and at least try something, at least as a fun kind of things. So, do you like the idea, kids starting their own LLC or start, selling some product or something, starting business? And if you support, how early you will be comfortable?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. Well, I can tell you, I guess I started my first business, quote unquote, when I was probably 10 years old or something.
Oh wow, yeah.
I mean, right? It was the quintessential, like, oh, we're gonna do a garage sale, right? Which is a business. So you start a garage sale, and then I started making like little perfume things when I was little, and I would go around and try to sell them, right? So do I think that children should become to start a business, or right, step into entrepreneurial? You know what? I'm going to actually say I think it's a good idea. I do, and here's why. Because ultimately, whether you're going to end up being an entrepreneur or you're going to start your own business, doing something like that really forces you in a lot of ways to develop a lot of skills that you may not develop otherwise. For example, sales, right? Sales is still, in my opinion, the number one skill that anyone can have in life, right? If you know how to sell, if you learn how to sell, you can do pretty much anything. And any type of business at some fundamental level requires you to sell something, either a product, service, or yourself, right? So you go to work for someone, you want to grow in your career, you're going to have to sell yourself up the corporate ladder, if you will. So learning that ability to sell is so critical, and starting a business, even at a young age, forces you into developing that skill. So I think that's a great idea. You also have to learn how to negotiate, right, with other people, how to build a team. Even when I was little and selling little perfume things, and I was 10 years old, I recruited my brother and sister to help me, right? And I had to convince them to help me out, and I had to set my prices, and I had to make sure I was making money, and what was I going to do with the money I was making, right? So you develop all these skills, which are so critical in your life. So I think it's a great idea for sure.
Perfect. Yeah. So in your day-to-day practice, you need to talk to a lot of clients, prospective clients. So do you have any very personal kind of way of getting feedback, like a honest feedback? Because a lot of time people will say something, but they actually think different thing. Do you have any way of getting like a honest feedback from your clients?
Man, if I could solve that problem, I would be a billionaire. No, yes, it's really true that people often say one thing and think another thing. I mean, the only thing I would say is body language, right? That's really important. Like, you can tell if someone is really telling you what they think, or if they're just telling you what you want to hear. And then actions always speak louder than words. So any action that's taken as a result of a meeting or something, right? You can always tell, where someone's really feeling it. But it's really true, just the words that someone say is not always exactly how they really feel. So that's definitely a skill to learn over time, and becoming effective at reading people. So critical.
Yeah, and with all of your efforts, it may happen like let's say one of your client is not happy with you. So in that case, how do you kind of make them happy if they're not already happy with you?
Oh, get out then. You're out. No, no, get out. You're out of here. No,
Yeah, yeah.
no. I mean, in running a business, so let me answer it this way. When it was just me in the beginning of my company, it was easier for me to be able to respond to something like that because at the end of the day, it all fell on me, right? I was the one providing the service. And so if my client wasn't happy, I knew I could, say, yeah, it was on me. That was my fault. I didn't, and here's how I'm going to fix it. Right. But because I was totally the one in control, now 14 years later, I have a whole team of people now that do the work. So I don't do the accounting anymore. I have a whole team of people that do accounting.
Mhm.
So, but at the end of the day, it's still me at the top,
Mhm.
and the clients still come to me when they have an issue. So when my clients have an issue, it's not so easy nowadays for me to know exactly what happened and to resolve that. I have to do some digging and figuring out what's going on, and then figuring out how to course correct, right? So, so it's really relying on your team now to be able to understand, how do we get this client back on track, and having a lot of conversation with clients. So going back to your previous question, having a very open, very honest conversations with the client, which may be uncomfortable on, well, what is it that is not going well in this engagement, and how can we put you back on track, and then what can I do as the owner and operator of this organization to ensure that I'm double checking, triple checking everything to keep you on track, right? So it becomes much more of a conversation the more people you have than just directly going in and fixing it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes total
Yeah.
sense. Thank you very much for sharing that
Yeah.
strategy with us. Yeah. Mhm. So, Manny, we are talking about your, practice, your childhood growing up as an entrepreneur. Now we will go deep into your personal life. But before that, we are going to take a short break. So please stay with us. So, dear audience, we are talking with Manny Cosme. He's a CPA. And all of his information is on the screen. If you need any help with financial services, please reach out to him. But we're going to take a 30-second short break. We'll be right back after this break.
Live like a CEO.
Starting a podcast or looking to make yours more powerful? Make sure it's heard, not lost in the noise. Managing recording, editing, publishing, and promotion can be overwhelming. That's where Kulna Technologies' 360-degree podcast service comes in. We handle everything from recording to producing to publishing, so your podcast always sounds top tier. You focus on the message, while we repurpose, stream, and promote it across every platform. Want a true 360-degree podcast service without the tech stress? Launch your podcast with Kulna Tech today and let your voice reach the world.
Live like a CEO.
All right, welcome back after a short break. We are talking with Manny Cosme. He's a CPA. He is the president and CEO of CFO Services Group. He's from Washington, D.C. area. So now we are going to learn more about his personal life. So Manny, is there any personal hobby that really helps you in your business?
Any personal hobby? I work out a lot. It really helps with my stress, so for sure. So I will typically, at the end of the day, when I wrap up, my last meetings for the day, I'll head to the gym. I'll do a strength workout. I'll do a run on the treadmill. And often while I'm working out, by the way, when I'm doing like weightlifting, I will be answering emails or reading up on the latest, accounting codes, whatever. So it actually becomes a very productive time because no one is bothering me and I'm focused. So I'm working out and learning at the same time, which is really phenomenal. So that really, really helps me. And just ultimately just to de-stress, get the endorphins going again, get that dopamine hit. So it's really helpful. Yeah.
So just from my understanding, so when you do weightlifting, do you do that you listen to those or you read it?
Yeah, I'll put my AirPods on and sometimes I'll answer emails, right? Or sometimes I will there's a couple of podcasts I listen to. So I have to add this podcast, right?
Yeah.
A couple of different podcasts or like YouTube videos. For example, like QuickBooks, we work a lot in QuickBooks. So QuickBooks has a weekly show that they come out with the latest updates to the software. So once a week, I will watch that YouTube video while I'm doing my workout. So it keeps me up to date on everything.
That's very interesting because most of the people, I think, they listen to music when they do workout,
Yeah.
but you do quick.
No, I'm productive. You got to be productive.
That's
Yeah,
really
or listen
awesome.
to a book. Yeah, like a business book. Like I'll listen to that right now. So yeah, really helpful to stay on top of it. I mean, there's only so many hours in the day, right? And it's like we get bombarded all day long with emails and gotta do this and gotta do this. It's like, well, when am I going to actually learn and expand? I'm like, oh, I'll do it when I'm working out. It's perfect.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think this is a very good idea. So, is there anything that you do like very early in the morning, like the first thing after getting up, you do the same thing every day, and similarly, very last thing before going to bed? Is there anything that you do?
I do. That's a great question. I walk my dog, number one. Very important. Get the dog out the door. No, then I'll do a yoga routine. So I'll do a short yoga routine in the morning just to stretch and get the body moving, like 10, 15 minutes. But I'll do that pretty much every morning. Then I will do a meditation, like a 20-minute meditation. I'll do that pretty much every morning. And then I'll do some journaling, right after that. So that's sort of my morning routine. So I'll do those three things. And that really helps to set me up for the day, to get me focused and get me going. And especially, with the pressures of being an entrepreneur, getting your mindset right is so critical to having success. I think you got to really step into that energy. And so, so doing those really helps me to just, focus, and this is what I'm doing, and this is how I'm going to be during the day.
And what about immediately before going to bed?
Oh, going before bed? No. So when I go before going to bed, no, that's more of a free for all. It's usually watching a show on Netflix, and then going to bed or playing a video game. I love playing video games. I'm a huge video gamer. So usually the last hour of the day is reserved for watching the latest episode of whatever show I'm watching, and then or playing a video game and going to bed. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So now, let me say the question this way: is there any lesson that you learned from your personal life that you very successfully used in your business life?
Any personal lesson that I use in my personal life? I mean, well, business life and personal life. I mean, as a CEO, as an entrepreneur, they kind of blend together. So it's really hard to separate them, after a time. But I would say that you can pretty much do anything you set your mind to. So I live that in my personal life. I live that in my business life. Setting clear goals, being clear about what I want out of my life, that is critical because that helps me make decisions in my business. Knowing that everything will work out. Everything always works out for the best. I can go back to many times in my life when, disaster struck and I thought, oh, this is terrible and my life is over and, this is the worst situation I've ever been in. And then it resolves itself, right? And we all move on and we all become stronger as a result. So, I use that. And similarly in my business, there's been lots of times when, I've had terrible points in my business, but they were really points that I learned from and grew stronger from, right? So both personal life and business life. So, yeah.
Yeah, perfect. You already probably answered this question, but let me ask you again. Now, the opposite. Is there any lesson that you learned from your business that you successfully applied in your personal life?
Oh, yeah, same thing. Yeah, exactly. Again, just going through tough times, you always get through it and you'll persevere, as long as you have the right mindset and you're determined to move. I had a mentor that his mantra is that when things go wrong, he always says, I will not be denied my success. He says that all the time. I will not be denied my success. And I use that a lot when things are going, weird in my business or in my personal life. I will not be denied my success, meaning that what I want, I will have. I will get it. It will manifest. I just keep plugging forward, keep moving forward.
Yeah. My next question, I already know the answer, but let me ask you for our audiences. So, personal life, business life, there's two groups of people. One, they call it work-life balance. They try to keep it separate. And another group of people, they like to call it work-life harmony. They kind of mix and match. So what group you belong and why?
That's a good question. I mean, well, I like the word balance, so I always think work-life balance, right? Where you got to have, like, you got to be able to turn it on and turn it off, because if you know, being an entrepreneur, being a CEO, you can be consumed by your business if you're not careful. Absolutely consumed. And I know a lot of entrepreneurs that are consumed by their business, and as a result, other areas of their life are not as strong, right? So harmony, balance, I mean, they're kind of interchangeable, but I do like harmony amongst all the areas of my life. If you think of a wheel of life, the wheel of life, and you think of all the different areas of the wheel of life, I really do try to balance them all out so that all of them get my equal attention. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't times when you have to you have to concentrate more on certain areas of your life. Like, I mean, obviously there are times when I have to spend a lot more time on my business, but at some point I can also back off from my business and let it coast for a little bit while I focus on other areas of my life that need more attention. And I think if you're not careful, then if you just focus all on the business, other areas of your life will suffer as a result. So I like the idea of balance, although I feel like harmony is also a great word. And I don't know what the difference would be between the two, but you gotta just give attention to everything, I guess, at the end.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I 100% agree with you. A lot of CEOs, who are consumed by business, they are lacking like a social skills, like especially in their family, they have a lot of problems because they are very, they're focused into business and they lose in other areas of their life. So this is a negative thing being a CEO or like an entrepreneur kind of things.
Yeah. People very successful in their business, but sometimes at the cost of what. So, but I think you can be successul in everything if you really are mindful about it.
Exactly. All right, Manny, we are kind of at the end of the our podcast. This is my last question to you. Can you give 3 tips for young entrepreneurs that would be helpful for them?
Yeah, that's great. One, don't be afraid to take a risk. I would say that. I say that to people all the time. Don't be afraid to take a risk, because if you want to do something, it will work out. And there's really no mistake that you can make that you can't recover from, right? So I would say that. So just go for it. Take the risk. Number 2, build a good community of people, right? So you want to, if you're going to go into business or, be a CEO or be successful in anything in your life, you have to build a good community of people that are in the same space who can support you, who you can lean on, who can become mentors to you, even expert mentors or peer mentors. Super, super critical, especially when you're building a business. Super critical to have that. The third thing, learn to sell. Learn how to sell. Learn how to talk to people. Learn how to negotiate and convey authority when needed, and lead. That's critical to be able to do that, because that will get you far in life, no matter what.
Perfect. Those are very powerful. Thank you very much, Manny, for joining this afternoon. I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
Live like a CEO.